Well, what's up, Salem's Lot fans? It's us, the Salem's Lot minority. It's me and Boogeyman Ben and Sam, and we're meeting up today, hanging out on different sides of the country to
Mhm.
break down this little gem right here, the Salem's Lot 45th anniversary celebration book. And before we tear into it, I've got to say, I know this guy right here. Boogeyman Ben Ottaviano with us right
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Ben, I'm
yeah.
going to need you to sign this right here, man. So this is a
Yeah,
big
can you
deal.
initial that? Do
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
autograph,
sure.
Ben? Do you autograph?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
BMB.
three of us have been reading this and we thought we'd get together, give you our
hmm
thoughts and
hmm
just, see what you think about it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Overall, I love the book.
hmm
It's kind of that, you see the correspondence. Um, between David and several people,
hmm
some fans, and he's telling this from his own words, which I love because now he's gone.
Yeah.
And also there are a few pictures that I had not seen before. I did my okay. I got to say this because there's one picture I had not seen this one of him and Marjorie Glick, and
Yeah.
the guy in the
Yeah,
background.
yeah.
I was disappointed in the text underneath it. David Soul wards off demons. So, okay, all right. Well,
Uh,
anyway, but it's a great picture. So
yeah, no, the
uh,
picture's awesome because I
yeah,
hadn't seen it either.
I love the book.
He's casually warding off demons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
casually. All right, it looked like they're posing.
She is demonic. I mean,
Yeah, I guess we can go with that.
yeah.
that saves it.
Yeah. Anyway, Sam, what are your thoughts on the book? What'd you get from it? What were you thinking after you finished reading this thing?
I felt that it was mainly for the fans, and it was more like a
Yeah.
keepsake.
hmm
You know, like
Very
Lisa
much
and Laura
so.
did a wonderful job as kind of making it as more like a keepsake than say an actual book that provides trivial facts and gives
hmm
you background on the story of the film. I mean, the person that took care of that definitely was Ben because it was from his perspective as a child. So
Mhm.
hmm
it really opens it up to kind of invite you to the keepsake.
hmm
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think,
True. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I took it. And then when you're reading, I wouldn't say the interview, but kind of like the thesis recap, it really is word for word of the 45th anniversary video that he made on his channel quite a few years
hmm
back. If
Yeah,
you read the
true.
actual transcript, it's just,
It is. Yeah.
yeah. If you watched it enough, you can hear his voice as you're reading it.
Yeah.
As
I
you
watched it so many times.
as you get back to towards the end of the book, or at least towards the end, there's a lot of people that did comments either on his page or either on his website. And I
Mhm.
think it was very tasteful that Lisa and Laura put quite a few of those in the book.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a tribute. It's kind of like a couple pages of fans thanking him and giving their reflections of the movie. And yours truly was one of them. I was
Yeah, I was
not
to say
expecting that. And I think it was back in 2020 or 21,
it was
but
21.
it
It was for
was
the 45th. No, I'm sorry, the 42nd. 42nd.
42nd.
We just
You
hit the
know, and
45th.
I
Yeah.
thought that was cool. I didn't know if any of that would be in anything, but that's really cool to read because Ferndale does have a very special place. That's where I proposed to Lauren. That's where
Mhm.
we stayed over at the Gingerbread Mansion. So it's cool to see that in the book and see that in text that was put in here. I do like a lot of the photos. I mean,
Very nice.
Yeah.
it's mainly focused on David, really, which there's some great black and white 8x10s. There's a couple color portraits.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the days back in 16 magazine where they would do 8x10 portraits of like movie actors and singers and rock
Mhm.
musicians. So they were somewhat frameable, like just an 8x10. So the only thing that's missing on the very right hand bottom or left hand bottom of some of these is 16 magazine. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
kind of
No,
captures
I know
that.
exactly. The
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
teen beat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
that?
So it
Yeah.
kind of captures that element, but at the same time, there's some wonderful photos. This might be my favorite 8x10 of his right
That's
here.
a great one. Yeah. That's another one
Yeah.
that I've seen perspectives of that where he's looking down, but I haven't seen
Yeah,
that one. Yeah,
yeah,
that one was
that's just a
different. I've seen one where he's looking, I
great
think that one
spot.
might be in here too, but yeah, it's like that one really stuck out to me.
So it's kind of a conglomeration, hence my channel name, um, of a whole bunch of emails exchanged, between Laura and David, and it's just Laura just kind of maybe suggesting things for the 45th, like could you do a video call? If you maybe touch on how you got to Ferndale, what Ferndale meant to you,
Hmm.
what the cast was, who the cast, mingled with back in the day. I think it's a great keepsake of just a little bit of everything that has to do with this, and you can tell by the call and responses from David through the emails that he's really on board with it. You don't sense that he's
Yeah.
not willing to be a part of it or it's kind of balking. He does do he actually emphasizes a lot throughout this whole collection that he says that there's a new Salem's Lot reboot or there's a new Salem's Lot coming out, and if you read that every time underneath it, it's either emphasizing that there's big shoes to fill, they're
Yeah.
going to have a lot to match up to the 79 version. He's
Hmm.
very adamant that there's no CGI, there's no special effects. It's all
Yeah.
just created from the ground up.
Practical.
That
Yeah.
was
So you
big to
can
him.
tell that every interview, he's really pushing it like, we really did this from the ground
Mhm.
up. There was nothing fancy.
Right.
There was nothing that was generated by a computer.
Mhm.
You press a button these days, it gives it to you. So that's what I got out of just reading the text, that he was very, very, um, very keen on getting that out there that, hey, no pressure, but you guys got a lot to fill. These people have a lot to live up to from the 79 version.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great keepsake. The photos are great. The way that Lisa and Laura put it together is
Yeah.
just a great fan base thing more than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I there was one part that I thought was really interesting, that to him, the scariest part
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
was the thing with Straker outside the Marston.
Outside the Marston house where he comes up behind him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was
Yeah.
really interesting. So, um, Ben, what were your overall thoughts when you read through this?
Well, I think for me, it's like I knew what the what it was going to be. And we just were talking about magazine, but I knew what the book was going to be. It was more going to be sort of a celebration. It was going to be something that was timeless because when they asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, that's how I found out about it. Lisa reached out to me. It was the weekend after Halloween, and they told me about that this was going to be coming out, that the announcement was going to be on the 17th of November to celebrate, the 45th officially. And I said, okay. So I knew I had like a small window to get this written up.
Mhm.
And, I was concerned about how long, how short, what did they really want? And in my initial write-up, I did have more of a remembrance for a lot of these people, and they wanted me to strip that out because they wanted it to be something that was timeless. They didn't want it to be something that reflected that, yes, we've lost, these people, especially, because in the last 2 years, we lost two of the main actors, David, of course, being one of them. So I stripped that part back and made it more about kind of, and she said, and Lisa was so sweet because Lisa's the one I've had the contact with. I've never spoken with Laura or Allison, who's their legal consultant. I haven't spoken with either of them. But it was more about, I said, she said, I know you're writing a book too. And she said, I don't want this to take away from anything. And I sort of, but I didn't want to pull something from my own book and put it into this. So I said, when they asked me if I wanted to do this, I'm like, absolutely. Because in a year where a lot of things that not only myself, we all were involved in trying to get something for the 45th, I felt like this was a nice, not consolation prize, but it was kind of like a nice, it sort of made things it made me feel better is all I can say. Because I felt like I had failed to try to get something going for the 45th and there was just too many obstacles in the way. And so when I was presented with this, and I didn't ask for this in any way, it was just something that they gave me. And I could sort of hmm, pay pay tribute to David, who, losing him really hurt me last year, and I don't know why. I think a lot of it has to do with self-reflection, and I was doing a lot of writing and sort of going back and thinking about these people that were larger than life to me that are leaving us, and he was a big one. And I think that I was able to pay respect to him on the anniversary of my favorite film in this way, not only to him, but also about, the impact of the film and what it meant to me after seeing it for the first time, how it terrified me, how it made me never want to watch it again as a little kid, and then sort of embracing it. And because of other things that had influenced me, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or The Incredible Hulk, there was things that kind of fueled my interest to go back to it. And that's sort of what I put into the write-up. So it's like it was just a nice gift. And I did, I when I flipped through it and I saw that, there was the email exchanges between Laura and David, there was, the reactions to how many views that the video had gotten and how they were blown away by, things that he had worked really like, because I think there was one point that was like America thing that he had done, and they were talking about like there was already more views on the Salem's Lot video than anything. There was a few other things that he had worked on, and I thought that was like just. I think it maybe it I've heard from a few people that met David Soul that there was times that he didn't really want to talk about Salem's Lot, that it was Starsky and Hutch, that was pretty much what he wanted to talk about. And I
Yeah, I've
think
heard that.
that as much as people love that show, I think his legacy, I don't know. It's like I feel like it's changed in the last 20, 25 years. And I think more people are talking about this than Starsky and Hutch. And again,
Oh,
it could just be because I talk to horror fans and things like that, but he was amazing in that role. And the more that you go back and look at it, there's so many layers to his performance. And, he was trying to break away from that, you know,
mhm.
that cop series that had a huge following, but you could tell he was trying to stretch himself as an actor. He was trying to do different things. There's a
Yeah.
lot of complexities to his character. And I think that I think as he got older, I think he started to slowly embrace this more. That's why that video, and I remember watching it for the first time, and I was in a really depressed point in my life when that showed up. And I saw it, Salem's Lot Then and Now, people had posted it, and I watched it, and I was like, it almost inspired me to try to do more in my life. And that's why I remember just watching it going, this is a man that embraced that movie finally. He embraced what it meant to people during a time when
Mhm.
we were still stuck in a pandemic. It was a great thing to watch when people were still really depressed and isolated. So, reading through the transcript, reading through the comments from everybody that was involved in it, and then also like, seeing fan reactions, how much the movie meant to them, where they were at that time in their life. Yeah, I mean, seeing Sam's, YouTube handle on there, I was
Yeah.
so excited that he was a part of this. And I think this is a gift. And you also got to see the inner workings of who David Soul was in his exchanges with Lisa and Laura, and I think this is a timeless gift. And I see now why they didn't want me to put in the stuff about his passing. And she said that they might do something eventually as a memoriam or some type of, tribute to his entire, career and things like that. But I don't know. I'm grateful for it. And, a lot of the stuff we knew, we've heard these stories before, we've seen some of these images before, but it was put together in a way that I think just, it really just drives home how important that movie was and how important he was as that character. Because it is like there are images of other people in it, but this is, first and foremost, I think, just a love letter to him and what he brought to that character.
Exactly. And I think for all the viewers who are watching this and who are sitting down with this, we did not plan this, but this happens to be January 4th, and this happens to be, and from what Ben told me last night through text, this is the day that he passed. So it's literally been a year. So we're doing it on the anniversary of his passing. So I think
Yeah,
it's extremely fitting that we're doing this and given it the celebration that it does deserve.
absolutely. It hit me last night. A friend of mine posted something on Instagram and tagged me in it. And I knew what, I know what day he passed. And then I just said, wow, I said, we are getting together. And then I said, I wonder if there, I said, what are the odds that we would do it? Because we had talked about maybe doing it next week or something like that. What
Yeah,
are the odds that we would find time today to do it? And
right.
I just remember that it just his passing really sucked the life out of me. It's just I don't know why. I guess because I kept hoping, at some point I'd be able to interact with him in some way. And I think that's why when I did the little video where I showcased all the locations, I did send it to them, and I think he did watch that. So that's something they said that Lisa gave me feedback about that once. And then also that I have the autograph picture and the fact that I was a part of this, even though it's after he's gone, it's still I was able to people keep saying, "Oh, you're a part of the legacy now." And I'm like, I don't consider it that, that I did anything that way, but the fact that as a 5-year-old kid watching this film for the first time, to think that one day I would be able to have myself kind of immortalized in a book that's paying tribute to him and the movie, that's bigger than anything. That's more than money or anything can give you, for me at
Yeah.
least.
It's pretty much like a big family. And for any of the viewers who are interested in getting this online, I'm not sure how many are left in stock or how much that Lisa and Laura have been able to press, but it literally is www.davidsoul.com. So check out his website. Not only does he have a lot of I wouldn't say like memorabilia, but he definitely has a great website and a lot of
Mhm.
information. And these people do get back to you if you have any questions or need
They're
any
all great. They're
information.
all
Yes.
great
Lisa
people.
and the gang are fantastic about getting back to you fairly quickly. So
Lisa
yeah,
is a
if anyone
sweetheart.
wants a copy of this, certainly email them, see if they have any more in stock. I think it's about $35, but I'm not sure, and I'm
It
not
is.
about shipping and handling.
It is, and they put them together. So I think they're printed on demand. So
Okay,
so I think when you just have to wait a few weeks when you order them.
got it.
It's funny you're talking about your 5-year-old self, imagining that you would be, we'd be in a
Something
situation.
that scared me and terrified me that
Yeah,
I
I
never
mean,
wanted to watch again.
it's funny because my wife has said that to me numerous times. If I've uh, texted Ron Scribner or Julie Cobb, and
Mhm.
there was one day I called Lance on the phone because we were talking about
Yeah,
getting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just called Lance Kerwin, and just I mean, really, tell your 5-year-old self that you'd be
you'll
just,
have a
and
conversation with them.
this year I wanted to put Julie on our Christmas card list, and I'm just, even though she said, well, we're friends now, and it blows my
Yeah, I remember you
mind.
told me that. Said it's so
I'm sitting there
sweet.
going, I'm writing a Christmas card to my friend Julie, and it still blows my mind because that little kid, I was 8, and
Hmm.
that little kid was so impacted by this movie. Um, but and I think my take from this book, yeah, it was some things that I'd heard, a few things that I'd not, but I mean, it was hearing it from it was like you said, it was almost like hearing his voice tell it. The
Yeah.
the mo the most positive thing I took from this is that I too had heard a few comments about, well, I met David Soul, and he seemed like he got mad when I mentioned Salem's Lot, or he didn't want to talk about,
Hmm.
and I really told myself, man, I'm not saying I don't believe this person, but I sure hope that's not the case. And I sure hope that he's proud of it. But when you read this book, um, you you get some of his tone and his personality just by the way he addresses people.
Hmm.
Sometimes he doesn't say, hey, he's got to call them, he's got to call them
Yeah.
wonderful production person or whatever.
Yeah.
And to hear him elaborate, you get the idea. No, I really do think he was proud of this.
Like
It-
Madam Editor. I was like, I saw
yes,
one that was
Madam
like,
Meta,
yeah,
that's what it was.
yeah, yeah.
So even if he did go through a point, I'm not saying he did, but if he did go through a point where he was just kind of like, I don't want to address that, whatever,
Mhm.
I understand. But we can see from this book at the end, he was he was happy and he was proud of it. And now that was one of the happiest things I took from the book.
Mhm. And I
No,
think
that's
that no,
fantastic
no, go ahead.
observation. I think
Good.
the fact that, yeah, it seemed like there was a time where I don't think he was sandpaper about it, but he could have had a different lifestyle back then. He was either in contract with something, so his mindset wasn't even close to Salem's Lot, maybe at that particular point in time. It's the same
Mhm.
way with musicians. They make this grandiose song, and that's all that they're known for the most part. They want to be known for something different, but I think it's time and place. I think it's the people who approach people, how it's coming across, how it's being projected, how it's being proposed.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like you said, Danny, I think maybe it was just the right time where he had time to kind of go back through his Rolodex
Yeah.
and kind of sift through what he has done. Yeah, he's always going to be the Salem's Lot. He's always going to be like the Starsky and Hutch brand. He's going to have that tattoo constantly in everyone's
Yeah,
brain.
because it went on for four
But to be
years,
able
and
to
it was
kind of
yeah.
push that aside a little bit and go, hey, this is what I'm doing now, and now that
Hmm.
gets the recognition. I think somebody like Lisa's the one that kind of opened up that closet and what there's much more in here
Hmm.
than you think. And I think once you kind of rummage through it, either just by watching the film again, or I don't know if he's seen anything that we did at that particular point on YouTube. I don't know. But it seemed like he finally had a soft spot, like that little iceberg kind of thawed out a little bit. He was much more rejoiced about it. He was much more inclined to talk about. And when you watch that 42nd anniversary clip from YouTube,
Hmm.
I watched that thing at least two or three times each
Oh yeah.
time. So I love the enthusiasm, and like you said, Danny, he's proud of it. He's telling stories. He's got Barlow edited, and so
Hmm.
he's David's got his humor back intact. So it seemed like it was
Yeah.
the right place, the right time before he went to be able to give that another thumbs up and said, "Yeah, I was proud of that. That I
Right.
had
Right.
this, I had these memories." So I think it's all timing and really approach.
Yeah.
I think we can say that about a lot of actors that play something that's iconic. Um, I've heard, I think there's some like Anthony Perkins, who was known as Norman Bates for the rest of his career. I think
Mhm.
he tried to distance himself from it and he couldn't. So I think in the end, he embraced it. And yeah, maybe he did some movies that were, not really up to his talent level, but that's what he was being offered and that's how people saw him. And I think there's a lot of actors that are doing that now that they, because it's almost like a gift and a curse at the same time. I can understand if you
Yeah,
want to stretch yourself in terms of range, but once you
sure.
play something that is in everybody's, that's their impression of who you are.
Yeah,
Not that Anthony Perkins was a cross-dressing killer, but I'm saying that the empathy that we felt for that character,
yeah,
I think that's what people latched on to. And also just, he was playing kind of a twisted individual. And I think people sometimes have a hard time disassociating the artist from the art. So sometimes you have to go, and I think I've just being someone that goes to cons and things like that, there's a lot of people, and I've talked about it before, where I see people go up to them and they keep asking people dumb questions. And I don't do that. I go up there and I talk to that person like a person. I don't say, "Oh, remember when you shot this scene?" Or if we start talking, I've talked to celebrities and I've talked about a specific scene, but I just go up and tell them how much I appreciate them. And I think that's where I've seen some celebrities are when they're kind of, cornered, they're at a booth or whatever, doing their signings, and some people are just they're a lot more rude, I guess is the best word in terms of like they want them to say, catchphrases and things like that, and they sort of it's disrespectful. And, again, this is a job to these guys. This is a job. It's like they're on to their next job after, and we're dice. We're watching it multiple times. They might not have watched it since it premiered. So, and
exactly.
again, it's those kinds of things. And I think that maybe he didn't realize how big the fan base was. Maybe he just thought that, okay, people are coming to these Starsky and Hutch events, and I know they had a few of them. Because and then maybe somebody brought up Salem's Lot, and it was just like, oh, what that's not what this is for, and it's just like one or two people. But same thing with Ferndale. I don't think the town realized how big Salem's Lot was. And I tried to tell them years ago how big it was. So I think it's not knowing is what maybe he knew what it was from the feedback, and just that was the year he was offering the autographs, the Salem's Lot autographs, which they sold out. I mean, they ran
Yeah,
out. Like, I mean, I luckily got one because
yeah.
they were like they ran out of 8x10s. So I'm like going, they had two left, and I was able to pick from one of the two. And eventually, I got the one I didn't. I picked one of the two, and the other one I just bought after he passed because I wanted that picture to hang up, and it's on the wall, which you can't see behind me, but it's up there. Yeah, it's up in right there. It's like,
Oh, I see it. I see it.
yeah. This is the one where he's standing on the road because I
Yeah,
always thought that was
Mhm.
cool with the Jeep
Mhm.
behind him. I said, "Oh, but I wanted the one of him staking barley." Yeah, it's in the book. It's probably just be easy. Let's go to the book. Yeah, it's
yeah, right
this one.
here.
Yep, that one.
Yeah, there it
Yep,
is. There it is.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I ended
Yeah.
up going with this one. That's the one I had him sign. So that's
yeah,
that's
that's
the picture I have autographed by him.
so cool.
I
Yeah,
wish that I had been able to get one before he passed, but I'd love to have one that said Hawthorne. Put it all around the house.
that's a
No,
good. That's a
that's
good. That's
great.
original, man. Because I'm
That
like,
is
that is
great.
really cool.
That
Yeah.
would have been fun. Oh well.
The
Yeah,
first restrictions from Father Callahan. Mother's not good. She has to.
Yeah, she has to.
that'd be great if he had literally that whole paragraph in one thing,
Yeah.
and the writing gets smaller and smaller as it
Yeah.
runs out of room.
2 times 2 times 4 times 8.
Well, guys, our overall summary of this is you need to pick it up. And it is
Mhm.
definitely for the
Absolutely.
fan, this is a keepsake. And if you want to hear David's voice again, really, this is the way to do it. And so make sure you go to
Mhm.
www.davidsoul.com. Like Sam said, get your copy. Go ahead and get it on the way because you're not going to regret doing it. You're going to be happy you have this copy. And so pick it up and support David's legacy.